Hello, welcome back to another edition of KabbalahWisdom.org's vlog. Now, today we're going to discuss the fact that we are literally around the corner from the Messianic redemption. Our great sage, perhaps the greatest Jewish master that ever lived, Rabbi Schneerson, said clearly that the Mashiach is here. Now, what does that mean that the Mashiach is here? It means that God is infinite. And what does it mean that God is infinite? Infinity is something that we have no connection to, no understanding of. You see, a human being by nature thinks in finite terms. We see reality and that reality exists in a time, location. In other words, in the finite world, everything is separated. It may have commonality. Trees are similar to one another. People are similar to one another. Yet, fundamentally, everything has its own location. In infinity, there is no difference. It's like your mind. In a way, your mind is infinite. Your mind is the sum total of everything you ever thought. And so everything is interconnected in your mind. Your mind, basically, what comes to you, excuse me, the consciousness that comes to you is a combination of all the loves and the fears. Everything gets mished together. It's like a soup. And so too in infinity. Now, the difference between our minds and infinity is, at the end of the day, we can only be conscious of one thing at a time. Women, in fact, are able to be conscious of three things at a time. They can hold three thoughts. But if you really wanted to focus on something, even women could only really focus on one thing at a time. And so we are limited by our consciousness within the time-space dimension. It's like watching a video. You can only really watch one screen at a time. Maximum, you could maybe split your attention between 2, 3. But to really take something in, you got to be focused. On the other hand, in the infinite consciousness of the divine, he can think about all things at the same time, and all of those things don't take away from his personality. It's not like he had to put himself into any of those things. Those things exist by dint of the fact that he's thinking about them. They exist in the way that he's thinking about them, and he is not limited in any way, shape, or form by his thoughts of them. This is beyond the human being to imagine, except if you imagine a computer. In fact, the Rebbe says the famous prediction of Kabbalah that in the year 1840, God will open the floodgates of wisdom of above and below, and they will converge in anticipation of the Messianic redemption, that technology, the offshoot of basically physics and science, gives us paradigms to understand God. And this is a tremendous paradigm. The idea that you have this little chip, and this chip can basically be dealing with the whole world at the same time, like a GPS. It's dealing with millions or billions of cars at the same time. So now we have the paradigm of something that is not limited by the consciousness and yet has infinite consciousness. It's something that is an amazing concept, infinite consciousness. And therefore, if something has infinite consciousness, it can both be beyond you and within you at the same time. It can create you, and it can be talking to you, and it can be creating any scenario at the same time. Imagine an infinite programmer. So he could create infinite games and interactions all at the same time. And so once you understand this, you understand that history is a progression. We went, as our sages say, the first 2,000 years are the 2,000 years of creation or chaos. And these were the 2,000 years where God created reality. And that's where ego, where man thought, oh, look at me, I'm such a great guy. And man became selfish. And as it says in the Bible, people were violent and they raped and they stole. And God wiped out that version of humanity and he brought a more humble version. It says people will only live to 120. They'll die. They'll be a little more humble. Then Abraham came along, and that's the 2,000 years of Torah. Not only is there a God, not only do I live for myself, but I live for God. I live for doing goodness and kindness to others. And then God gave the Torah to the Jewish people, and then they became a light unto the nations. They spread throughout the entire world, bringing their ethics and their values until we have the modern age, which is the Messianic age, where people searching for the truth develop these personal relationships with God, which we find the statistics are showing More people are dropping out of organized religion, but more people are becoming spiritual. And that's the essence of the Messianic era. And soon, I believe that with like I mentioned, with Syria, what's going on, I believe it says that Israel will go into Damascus even a little bit before the coming of the Mashiach. Will be the final herald. And my friends, it's going to be the most amazing time. So now, right now, decide who you are. What is your purpose in life? Because once the Mashiach comes, it's like you've already subscribed to your value system before. Once you get to heaven, that's where judgment takes place. Freedom of choice is now in this world with so many different options. And so therefore, when you make a positive choice now, you're affecting your entire destiny for eternity. So I highly recommend right now you decide who is the person you want to be. As the Rambam says, everybody has the capacity to be the best as long as they want to. So you make a decision right now to be the best version of you, and God will accept that decision. He'll lead you on the way, and you will be proud of yourself forever.